Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. We are now continuing with Cutoff with No Severance, along with XJoe81X, and we're now going to find out exactly what did happen on the bridge. And Joe is going to tell you about how it was living with Jen. That's all going to be explained in the video. So here is the video already in progress.
I got over the bridge and I was doing good. And then I shit my pants.
In a U-Haul.
In a U-Haul over the bridge. Over the bridge. Whichever bridge it was.
There was fallout from the bridge.
Right, yeah, you know.
With the thunder that happened on it.
When you come up through Myrtle into Jersey, into New York, you have to come over the George Washington Bridge.
So nervous that this wasn't going to work out.
Oh,
Actually,
man.
no.
No, it all tied in. See, like not every person in your life is next to you at every second.
Now, how long did it take to get from the GWB to New Hyde Park?
I couldn't.
20 minutes,
yeah,
half hour?
45 minutes.
45. So he's sitting in his own shit for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, and then there's traffic because no matter which way at any hour, as soon as you get past Jersey...
And the windows only go down so far.
Yeah, right. Windows didn't work. Right. I remember pulling in the front. She pulled into the driveway.
And you called your mom.
And I called my mother because my mother had the keys at that time because the keys weren't like hidden anywhere. Landlord wasn't bad, it just wasn't hidden anywhere. My mom came, or I called my mom leading into showing up. Right.
Yes.
But like
come with the keys and
diapers, and toilet paper.
And a pair of sweatpants.
So I figured out where I was, I figured out where she was, and we kind of did one of these, right? So we get out, and actually there's another story I want to tell. I want to pause right there. This goes back to one of those gut feelings. When Jay had that gut feeling in March of 2007, my father got that gut feeling in July of 2007. I want to say we already were living there.
Yeah, at that point I would say so.
We were in the backyard of my childhood home, and it was my father's birthday, so it definitely was July of 07. And at some point, she looked at me and wanted to go home. We didn't even cut the cake yet. I don't think I told this story, and if I did, it didn't really mean anything. At that time, I said, well, we didn't cut the cake, it's my father. It was along the lines of, without knowing what was said, was, well, I don't care, I want to go home. And then that was the pinnacle, pivot point of the relationship for me. Family comes first. And you're not married, so you did not come first. So that story is done and over with. I just wanted to go forward to come back and be like, then it clicked. Sometimes you have to sink the boat to realize you should have never bought the boat.
Right.
If that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So we move in, I get cleaned up, and I want to say from day one, it was just like...
It was tumultuous.
Yes.
Always clashing.
Hollywood relationship? What do Hollywood people get divorced over?
Irreconcilable differences?
Yes. No one cheated, no one hit each other, but what's the tabloids say? Oh my God, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie got divorced because of reconciling differences. That's what it was. We were oil and water, whatever.
Oil and water, yeah.
So, we unpacked, we made it a home.
Well, at least you always knew who was on top.
She got a job. She got a job as a vet tech in Manhattan. So she would take the train. She would work nights. Sometimes she would drive because of the commute. It was actually better. I did what I did, which is pretty much probably never will be disclosed. And if it will, it'll be after the time.
When it's time, you'll find out.
When it's time, you'll find out. Just like
if and
Tiny
when it's
Middle.
time, you'll find out. But right, yeah.
Right. So that's that. And it just, she would come home, I would come home, she would be off, I would be off, and we just, that's a blur. You know why it's a blur? It's because your mind is trying to like fix it. You're talking to your friends, you're talking to your
mind
family.
or your dick?
Both. Well, that stopped too. So then we hit a point in our relationship where I had a wedding to go to. And she was allegedly taking this Saturn of hers and driving from New Hyde Park to Albany, New York, where she was born and raised. And she was going there on her days off. I don't know what they were. Doesn't matter. And then she would come back.
I remember like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and
Friday
the problem,
evening after work she would leave.
And this is the problem. She would leave the second she punched out, and she would almost go straight there the second she had to punch in. There was no like, let me come home, let me unpack my car, let me do laundry. Now as a vet tech, she just needed clean scrubs for that day. And I'm sure she took her laundry and she washed it upstate. She came from a divorced family. Her mother left a long time ago, before college. And her father was up in Albany. She had a brother. At some point, I was invited to a wedding. And then at another point, the phone rang. Whether she was home or she came home from work, and she stated that her brother died from cancer-related illness.
Well, that was later on, because she used to get in the car every single weekend and drive to Albany to see her brother who was sick with cancer.
But I don't remember her telling me he was sick with cancer.
And that's why I kind of put that in quote marks, sick with cancer, and that he died. Maybe he did die. Maybe he was sick.
You got to be a real piece of shit to lie about that.
Yeah, and I would not put that past her personally.
He wouldn't. I kind of.
Well, you know her a lot better than I did.
Maybe he did.
But anyway, that was, I remember it was like every weekend she would go upstate for the whole weekend. I said, Joe, her brother, I don't think she's there all day. There's got to be some guy up there.
Yeah, could be. Could have been.
I was almost certain of that.
And then that's it. Well, that's not it, but that's...
And she would never come home happy, because she was happy up there. She'd come home to see you where she's unhappy, so she'd always walk in the door grumpy.
Yeah, and you got to understand, without getting into like every second of every day, it was probably over the second I put the key in the U-Haul. Like, you just go with the motions. And the whole house was set up and unpacked. We were living life. She had it set up this way, that way. I vaguely remember. I might have pictures, but it doesn't matter. But then you hit a point where it's over. She went and got a spare mattress, or she took her mattress and she slept downstairs. And we were two adults living in an apartment.
Because remember, they had the basement also.
Yeah.
So she would sleep downstairs in her own little cocoon, so to speak.
And now, when she stopped going to Albany, she started going out. So now we were like broken up, and she started going out. I don't know what she did or where she did, but she started having people pick her up. Well, I have two eyes and a window, so I would look outside, and gentlemen callers would be picking her up. Now, I will say this, it was the same car, it was the same guy. I don't care who that is. So it wasn't like da-da-da-da-da, but I would look out and it would be, whatever make and model, and she would go gallivanting. And she'd come home 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and you would hear the car, the door shut, and she would go back downstairs. Maybe I had work, maybe she had work. It's a very, the only thing, a good analogy of that part of my life would be like an old VCR tape, where it's trying to track it. You get a glip, you get 5 minutes of hanging out, blowing the candles out, and then it's fuzzy, and then grandma fell, but you can't see it.
Right, because the tape got eaten 3 times in that spot.
So...
Oh, did she hit her head? Wait, rewind. Oh, no, the VCR ate the tape.
Yeah, so, without boring you, she ended up moving out. She ended up living with a friend. Now, when I look back, remember, we just started this. I don't know how long it lasted. So you have to become friends with people, and you have to tell people your problems, and you have to. So she almost had to fakely like befriend people, because I was there alone, and she ended up moving into Manhattan with a friend, which was a female. She ended up leaving all her stuff and taking her pets and her clothes. Because I remember being alone, hanging out, doing my thing, and her 6-foot cat scratcher was like in the living room.
It was.
She didn't take things. And then maybe Jay came over a little bit more, because then it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
You know?
I had another reason for going over there.
He came over.
I had another reason for going over there after Jen left. So let's stop right there for that and explain that that is officially cut off now with no Jen Severance. And that's the title. So that happened. But there was another little issue with your having this place in New Hyde Park, and that was the amount for the rent.
Yeah.
At the time,
I think it was 1,600.
you
16 or 18.
you weren't able to afford that on your own, I think.
I did, but it was
dicey.
going to tap into my savings.
Yeah.
And at some point, you were like,
Right.
it was like done.
So Jen was paying part of the rent.
No.
Oh, she never did? That bitch.
This is what gets into
Oh,
what he's
that
done.
bitch. See, I didn't even know that part.
I never got a damn thing from Jen. I even paid the U-Haul bill.
Yeah. That must
Reminds
have
me
been
of a
hefty.
friend we currently have. But anyway,
Right.
so Jay would come over, I think, a lot more, and we would drink a lot more, and we would whatever. And
Right, but the problem was Joe wasn't going to be able to afford that place for that long. And Joe kind of needed a rebound.
that's a whole different story.
It so turns out that at the time, my sister was in another relationship that had gone sour.
Almost the same relationship.
It was
They
a
were
very similar...
Two adults living together, two ships passing at night kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. Two ships passing at night. Exactly. Eventually, she said, all right, I got to get the hell out of here. And the guy ended up keeping that place for however long he lived there after, and that was it. The bottom line is, Joe needed somebody to pay the rent. So Joe and my sister lived together for a time after Jen.
Yes. She looked at the place. She came in. She was in a position where...
She needed a place. She knew Joe because we've been friends fucking forever. Back when my sister and I still used to live at our parents' house, both of us, Joe would come over as, friends, as kids. So she knew Joe forever at that point. A good 10 years at least at that point.
Oh, longer. Probably 15 to 27 is 12. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I met him at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, so there you go. So anyway,
It was it.
that was it. And they lived together. My sister had the basement, and Joe had the main floor.
We shared the living room, kitchen, and stuff, but I slept on the main
Because
floor.
that was right. That was the kitchen and living room were on the main floor, and they would watch TV. Or
Yeah,
my sister had her own TV also.
Yeah, we were just flatmates.
flatmates indeed.
We were flatmates. Jen eventually packed her shit, and she ended up leaving.
Did she take anything else with her? Did she bring any furniture or anything like that?
I don't remember. It's just funny how
Because I don't remember any pieces that were sticking around for years.
No,
so.
because I think everything was on me.
Yeah, that kind of sounds about right.
Everything was on me. She brought what she brought. She brought a truck, befriended friends, and she left my life. She literally gave me the 2 keys, and she walked out and said goodbye. Like she was taking a ship. Bye. That was it. No yelling, no screaming. There was yelling and screaming at a certain point and phone calls and stuff, but that was it. So that's the Jen story. I do want to touch upon the legal action because that's the conclusion.
Well, this seems like a good time for a break right here. So we're going to cut it right here. And next time we pick up, next Sunday, you will hear about the legal action that Joe had taken against Jen for all of the hell that she put him through. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a link in the prescription to XJoe81X's channel. Also a link there for the previous part of this series. And you can check that out if you haven't already watched that, which you should have. But otherwise, that's going to do it. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.